we like to call her Mimi. Because that's what our granddaughter calls her, Mimi. In fact, I was asking Race Elder, what year was it? It's been 31 years ago. The Women's Assembly, I believe, was in Kansas City, and 3 generations of Trimble women went. My mother, who's now 97, United Methodist Women in Chicago, my wife, and our daughter, who's now 34 years old and an active member. Am I not being picked up? Okay. Thank you, my friend. He's worked with me before, so. And our daughter was 34 years old. At the time, was 3 years old, and went to her first assembly with her mother and her grandmother, 3 generations. Now, our daughter has a daughter, Corinne, who was baptized at St. James United Methodist Church in Hampton, Virginia. And when she gets a little bit older, maybe in a year or two, when the next assembly happens, maybe if God's willing, there'll be multiple 4 generations that can go. We ought to give God a hand clap just for that. So when I was invited to speak, I already knew what I was going to say. Some messages really, people ask me if I preach the same sermon, Bonnie, over and over again. And the answer is yes and no. Yes, I always want to talk about love, Jesus, and encouragement, because our mission statement is to encourage all people with the love of Jesus Christ to rise to their highest potential. But I knew what I was going to say when I came today, and I wasn't going to take long to say it. Amen. And here's what I was going to say, and I'm going to say it now. So if you don't remember anything else, we should all join the movement that is called United Methodist Women. Amen. And I see that it's being recorded. I see the links from the communications. So I want that quote to go forward. We should all join the movement called United Methodist Women. Amen. It is a movement. Now I want to read just a few verses of scripture from one of the New Testament letters, epistles from 2 Timothy. This will sound familiar to you as I talk, as I make my case for why we should all join this movement. I'm grateful to God. This is 2 Timothy, the first chapter, a few verses, 3 through 7, the Common English Bible. I'm grateful to God whom I serve with a good conscience as my ancestors did. I just talked about generations of United Methodist Women. I constantly remember you in my prayers. We prayed before we left our driveway on our way to St. Luke's for the annual meeting of United Methodist Women. I constantly remember you in my prayers day and night. When I remember your tears, I long to see you so that I can be filled with happiness. I'm reminded of your authentic faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice. I'm sure that this faith is also inside of each of you. Because of this, I'm reminding you to revive God's gift that is in you through the laying on of my hands. God did not give us a spirit that is timid or fearful, but one that is powerful, loving, and self-controlled. We should all join. I will share this with men, women, boys, and girls, those who are in the United Methodist Church, even those who are outside of the church. We should all feel invited to join a movement called the United Methodist Women. 150 years. I know we celebrate that as the 150 years as an organization, but I would like to point to it as 150 years as a movement. The legacy began in 1869 when the Women's Foreign Missionary Society was first organized in Boston in response to a lack of women's health in India. Methodist women and women of the Evangelical United Brethren traditions organized at the same time when women and children were legally classified as chattel property, legally dead or non-persons. I often refer pastors in their reading to include in their library a book by Megan McKenna entitled Not Counting Women and Children, Neglected Stories of the Bible. Too often, we have overlooked historically and biblically the role of women and children. Amen? You remember the story of the feeding of the 5,000 or the several accounts of the 4,000 that said there were 4,000 men who were fed, not counting women and children. So probably the miracle was 20,000 fed. We just didn't count all the women and children who were there. Methodist Women's Foreign Missionary Society raised funds to send Isabel Coburn, an educator, and Dr. Clara Sabian, a doctor, to India. A school was started with 6 young girls and expanded to include Isabel Coburn College, the first women's college in Asia. In 1875, Lizzie Hoffman, who was instrumental, formed the Women's Missionary Association of the United Brethren Church. After spending one night praying, she was convinced that women of the church should be organized for special mission work. Sierra Leone, West Africa, where we as a conference, Indiana, has been involved with for many years, and United Methodist Women for many years, a place where the United Methodist Women is quite strong, was the first country missionaries were sent to. Indiana has a long, rich history of missionary support for an engagement with Sierra Leone. 3 things I want to emphasize that I've learned from United Methodist Women. Opportunities to grow spiritually, education that leads to working for justice through service and advocacy, and unapologetically champion and equipping women and girls to be leaders. That's a good thing. I rest my case. We should all join the movement called United Methodist Women. I echo the words of President Kathy Burris, who said that 2019 is a monumental year for United Methodist Women and a monumental year in the United Methodist Church. It's the 150th anniversary, and women still need to be organized for missions, quote unquote, because the president is here. I didn't want her to think I was stealing her words without giving proper. I agree. A clear vision. Turn faith, hope, and love into action on behalf of women, children, and youth globally and locally. A clear purpose. Organized. The organization of United Methodist Women shall be a community of women whose purpose is to... Come on, help me out here. That's right, to know God. We experience freedom, develop creative supportive fellowship, expand concepts of mission, participate in global ministries. Check this out. This is the most important part. We all can connect, men, women, boys, and girls, through Jesus Christ. That's the connecting link right there. Jesus Christ. Through Jesus Christ. We should choose to join the movement. Several years ago, before I came to Indiana, someone was arguing with the bishop. They were debating, and then they wanted to apologize. They said, well, Bishop, I'm just playing the devil's advocate. You ever heard anybody use that expression? I'm just being it. And you know what I said? You could use this. I said, the devil doesn't need an advocate. If you want to be an advocate, be a child advocate. Be a woman's advocate. Be a student's advocate. The devil doesn't need an advocate. Be a justice advocate. Be a love advocate. Be a peace advocate. Become an advocate for the most vulnerable. So it's no surprise that human trafficking is not being ignored by United Methodist Women, even though it's being ignored many places in the Christian community. Not being ignored by United Methodist Women, and not being picked up as a temporary concern. Be an advocate in the arena of human trafficking. Save a child, raise a concern, support a Lucille Raines. Be an advocate. Now here's the second I want to say. I might agree with some of you on this one. We should all be feminists. Everybody say feminist. Yes. Feminist. Author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, a Nigerian storyteller and best-selling author. I saw one of her books out on the table. Tells this story. Her essay and her little book is entitled, "We Should All Be Feminists." And I believe that. We should all choose to join the movement, become an advocate for the most vulnerable, and we should all be feminists. She tells this story. I want to tell it. It's a short story. I'm going to abbreviate it from her book of a true story of her childhood. In her primary school in southeastern Nigeria, my teacher said at the beginning of the term, she would give a class test, and whoever got the highest score would be class monitor. Class monitor was a big deal. If you were class monitor, you could write down the names of noisemakers in the class each day, which was heady enough power on its own. But my teacher also gave the class monitor a cane to walk around and patrol for noisemakers. You could not actually use the cane, but you could carry the cane. And as a 9-year-old, it was an exciting prospect to be class monitor. Adichie says she very much wanted to be class monitor, and she got the highest test score on the test. To my surprise, my teacher said the monitor had to be a boy. She had forgotten to make that clear earlier. She didn't say that at the beginning. She assumed it was obvious. A boy had the second highest score on the test, and he would be the monitor. What is even more interesting is that this boy was a sweet, gentle soul who had no interest in patrolling the class with a stick, while I was full of ambition to do so. I have never forgotten that incident. If we do something over and over again, it becomes normal. If we see the same thing, if we say the same thing, if only boys are made class monitor or president or pastor or bishop, we will all think, even unconsciously, that the class monitor has to be a boy. We should all be feminists and advocates. I can rest my case right there on that story. Then she said, the story, I'll give you a little extra from the book. It's not long. You can read the book in a couple of hours. She says, but people criticized me when I was first called a feminist at age 14. She said, because people said, well, feminists are angry women. So she said, I started calling myself a happy feminist. She said, well, then someone criticized and said, well, feminists are not just angry, but they're mostly white. So she said, I started calling myself a happy African feminist. Then she said, someone criticized and said, well, feminists hate men. She said, I couldn't believe that. So I started calling myself a happy African feminist who likes men. We should all be advocates. We should all be feminists. We should all want equality and justice for all. And we should all be anti-racist. Take a deep breath. We should all be anti-racist. You know where I learned this from? United Methodist Women. The Charter for Racial Justice was created and adopted by the Women's Division of the United Methodist Church Board of Global Ministries in 1978. Its seeds of origins go back before then, but in 1980 the division recommended the adoption of the charter by the whole denomination. this is kind of underreported. But the whole denomination took the lead of the United Methodist Women and adopted the Charter for Racial Justice. And the United Methodist Women urgent call for study and action on the principles of the Charter for Racial Justice should not be ignored or underreported. Why? Racial justice is a biblical issue, a leadership issue, a community issue, a public policy issue. I wish I could say I was smart enough to have made all that up. But I took that right out of the Charter for Racial Justice. Racial justice is a spiritual issue. Why? Racism is a rejection of the teachings and example of Jesus Christ. That was worth the cost of coming. It's the truth. Racism robs all human beings of their wholeness. So we commit to eliminate all forms of institutional racism, create opportunities in local churches to deal honestly with racist attitudes and those things that divide us, take serious diversity and inclusion. I wish I could say I was smart enough to have written that all up myself and made that up and researched it. 99% of what I've just said and most of what I've said since the beginning of this address comes from the movement called United Methodist Women. The Global Leadership Summit my wife and I attended last year was hosted here at St. Luke's. This year we went to a church right around the corner from us, and one of the speakers, Bozeman St. John's, talked about inclusion and diversity. Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. Sometimes we invite people to come to the meeting, to the party, but we don't ask them to dance. I pray that we will embrace not only the Charter for Racial Justice, but we will unapologetically become anti-racist. Support the worldwide struggle to end discrimination and promote liberation in church and community, promote equal education and protect civil rights of all persons. We should all join the movement and never forget that our good works of mission and justice are connected to Jesus Christ. A year ago, the 2018 annual conference theme was See All the People. This was never intended to be just a tagline or a slogan or a passing theme to move on to the next thing. It's a mandate from Jesus that we would see all of the people. And as Paul says in 1 Corinthians 3, we ought not boast about who we follow, where we went to school, or what things we have accomplished. We should embrace all the challenges that are before us as Christians. So poverty is yours, address it. Prosperity is yours, share it. Diversity is yours, celebrate it. Handicaps are yours, overcome them. The mountain is yours, climb it. Grace is yours, receive it. The challenge is yours, face it. The Bible is yours, read it. Life is yours, live it. The gospel is yours, spread it. All things are yours. You belong to Christ, and Christ belongs to God. So if you have a song, sing it. You have a story, tell it. If you have a promise, keep it. If you have a path, walk it. If you have a ministry, a mission, live it, love it, share it. God bless you. We should all join the movement. Amen. I've been invited to do several things today, and I'm honored to do all of them.